Okay, I'm going to start out by showing you the audience that I have. So, Elizabeth, my sister, and my parents.
We
didn't
just
see
got
it.
the top of our head.
There we go.
There we go.
Further detail.
I have to stand. Okay. The first thing I will be discussing is the choice to not have premarital sex, the consequences that come with premarital sex, and how God views premarital sex. The first thing I'd like to show you is I have made the personal decision to stay abstinent until marriage. One of the things, and I think it's a really beautiful symbol, is the purity ring that I bought for myself. And this is just a symbol that I have personally made a commitment to wait to marriage. And I think a lot of teenagers don't realize that they have that choice. A lot of teenagers feel like they have to have sex before marriage to feel included, to feel important, and to feel loved. A lot of teenagers have sex before marriage because they feel they're not getting enough attention, or because their peers are doing it. And too many teenagers feel like they don't have the choice to say no. So I have personally made the decision to stay abstinent until marriage, and I keep my purity ring um, on my ring finger so that when I do get married, I will eventually replace my purity ring with a wedding ring to just symbolize that I have stayed committed to that choice that I made when I became a Christian. God holds sexuality as something very, very important. Our bodies should be considered a temple, and when you go out as a teenager and you go out and have sex before marriage, it's done frivolously and without thought or contemplation. And like I said before, so many teens do not feel they have the choice to make a purity pledge. Schools are telling them it's unrealistic. Friends are telling them it's not necessary. Doctors are even telling students that it's unhealthy. And I'm just here to tell you that it is a choice, it is a possibility, and it is not impossible. And God holds sex as not a dirty thing, but it is something to be considered holy, and it is something to be taken seriously. And too many teenagers are being told it's simply an impulse. It's simply something you do to fulfill an urge. And that doesn't always have to be what it is. It dumbs down how precious and holy sex is and the way you should consider it. A verse I like regarding this issue is 1 Corinthians 6:18. Flee from sexual immorality. Every other sin a person commits is outside the body, but the sexually immoral person sins against his own body. So when you have sex before marriage, you aren't hurting the people around you, you're hurting yourself, and you are defiling your temple. Um, Students who have sex before marriage are actually more likely to commit suicide, struggle with depression, and drop out of school and become teenage parents. Um, they are more at risk to get STIs and STDs, and students who choose to stay abstinent are more likely to go further in college and not struggle with depression. So the consequences that come with premarital sex outweigh the momentary pleasure that comes with that personal decision that you make. Something Professor McGee, one of my resources, says, the physical act of marriage is sacred, a sacrament made by God himself, and one which is sanctified. Many Christians, I believe, nowadays are told that sex is dirty, sex is bad. It's something you should completely flee from. And I think a lot of the world doesn't realize that Christians struggle with the temptation of sex as well as people who are worldly and do not believe that sex is wrong. Christians just decide that it is a serious issue, a serious enough issue to avoid and stay away from. And I'm just here to tell you that staying abstinent is a choice that you can make for yourself. The best way to stick to that commitment and stay faithful to God and his plan for sex is have someone holding you accountable. Have someone with you on a date, or just make sure that you're sitting down with a pastor's wife, your parents, um, someone who can hold you accountable to make that decision to stay abstinent. Another quote that I like is, teens who abstain from sex are less likely to be depressed and attempt suicide. I said that earlier. But just think about the choices, the extremes. Teenagers who have sex before marriage are more likely to become teen parents and drop out of school, versus kids who choose to stay abstinent, stay in college, go far in life, and marry the love of their life, and then make that decision. Um, there are two extremes, and it is not a consequenceless choice. Too many teens frivolously do it without thinking. So I'm just here to encourage you that it is a good and holy decision, whether you are saved or whether you are not saved. The consequences outweigh the momentary pleasure. And I just hope that that is a decision that you make for yourself.